This is a quick demo of how to create a virtual private server with RStudio Server pre-installed on DigitalOcean. There are companies offering the ability to create your own virtual private servers. These are Linode, DigitalOcean, Amazon Lightsail, and many others. Through a web browser, you can spin up a VPS with just the Linux operating system. There are multiple versions of Linux available. Or you can spin up a VPS with LAMP, Linux Apache Web Server, MySQL Database Server, and the PHP scripting language. This is a typical starting point to create web applications. Or you can spin up a VPS with pre-configured applications, such as Plex Server to serve up movies, photos, and music, or WordPress, a popular application to create websites. A pre-configured application available on DigitalOcean is RStudio Server. For as little as $6 per month, you can have your very own RStudio server, which can be accessed from anywhere. You will need an account on DigitalOcean to make use of this. DigitalOcean has an introductory offer where the first 2 months are free with up to $100 credit. Let's take a look at creating an RStudio server on DigitalOcean. You will need to create an account at DigitalOcean. I already have my account created, so I just need to log on to digitalocean.com. For a pre-configured VPS, go to the left-hand menu and select Marketplace. Search for RStudio and select it. We can see what will be available in our VPS. Note that in addition to R and RStudio Server, Tidyverse, R Markdown, and other commonly used software will be installed. Select Create RStudio Droplet. DigitalOcean calls their virtual private servers droplets. We choose a plan. The default for this VPS is a basic plan for $56 per month. It has 8 gigabytes of RAM, 4 premium CPUs, 160 gigabytes of high-speed solid-state storage, and 5 terabytes of transfer per month. This might be a good choice if you wanted to set up an RStudio server for a large class of students or for a number of power users. For my own personal use, I need far less. I will select a regular CPU with 50 gigabytes of storage on solid-state drives. I will ask for 2 gigabytes of RAM and 2 terabytes of transfer. This will set me back $12 per month. I will choose a data center region close to me. I will not show the process to set up SSH keys, but it was not difficult. I will make use of one of my SSH keys to simplify access to the console of my VPS. I will add test to the host name to make it easier to identify. I create the droplet. We can see the droplet being spun up. The droplet has been created and is running. I select it and can see additional information about this VPS. I can see it is running, its IP address, resource use, etc. Taking a look at the instructions to set up RStudio server, we need to create a user with admin privileges. I will use the add user command to create a new user and the usermod command to assign admin rights to that user. This is done in the console of our new VPS. I start the console and execute the add user and usermod commands. I now copy the IP address and paste it into a new browser window. Note that you need to add the port of 8787, which is the default port for RStudio server on the VPS. I enter the username and password I just set in the console. And I am now into the RStudio IDE that we all know and love. I will load tidyverse and run a few lines of code. And I can go into the terminal window to execute Linux commands. I now log off of RStudio server. I can keep this VPS and make use of it anytime I want and from anywhere, all for only $12 per month. If I need additional CPU, RAM, or storage space, I can move to a more expensive plan and increase the resources available. Since I no longer need this VPS, I'm going to destroy it. Note that I only need to pay for the time the VPS exists. By destroying it now, it has only cost me a fraction of a cent. There is an R package called Analog C. It provides the functionality to communicate with the DigitalOcean API in order to automate the creation, use, and destruction of VPSs. A couple of examples of what can be done with Analog C. We can create an R program which can be run anywhere, for example in RStudio Desktop on a laptop, to create an RStudio VPS on DigitalOcean with 10 user IDs and passwords for a class. Or we can run an RStudio program to create multiple large RStudio VPSs on DigitalOcean, send code to be executed in parallel on those VPSs, receive the results from each, and then destroy them. The analog C package can be found on GitHub. There's also examples of how to create a cheap disposable supercomputer with RDigitalOcean and a package called Future. And the Latin R 2021 conference discussed analog C and using R for big data analytics. There's a paper and also a demo. We have mentioned two examples of where it would be useful to create a VPS with RStudio server. One is an environment with multiple user IDs, passwords for a training class. I think that this could be a very interesting use for some of the inclusion initiatives that people would like to set up. Another is multiple large temporary RStudio VPSs for parallel processing. My personal use is for the Advent of Code challenge that takes place every December. I'm usually out of the country for part of that month, and I do have some free time. I don't want to bring a laptop with me. So what I do is I create a DigitalOcean droplet with RStudio server, and I create a GitHub repo. I can access all of this from any browser to develop code for the challenge. I have in the past installed RStudio server on a virtual machine on my home server, a TrueNAS server. And I've opened a port that I can access from anywhere. But being completely uninformed on securing this, I'm always worried that my home network will be invaded. With a VPS, I'm not concerned. If needed, I can destroy the VPS, create a new one, and grab all my content from my GitHub repository. I am very interested in use cases that you may have. Please send your comments, suggestions, and questions to esims@yahoo.com. Use subject VPS.